What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wednesday Devotional. We are finishing day 3 of our devotion titled Your Best Is Yet to Come. Porter's with me today on the boat.
I gotta watch.
And he's got to watch. The title of the video is Feel Sorry for Yourself? And this is what it says. One thing that often happens when you're going through a wilderness experience is that you can end up feeling sorry for yourself. And when your outlook gets clouded and your eyes are downcast, it's easy to miss the good things that God has started to do in your life. Are we entitled to go through grief? Of course we are. But there's a mindset that you can get into where you become the perpetual victim. Some people want to be consistently dependent by telling people their hard luck story, consistently going over and over the same thing, and they never move forward from that. You may think I'm being a little insensitive, but let me say this kindly but firmly. If you've been stuck in that place for a long time, maybe it's time to get over it. The message for you today is that life isn't over just because you feel that you've been forgotten on the shelf, that you're past your use-by date. Life is not over. In fact, your best is yet to come. It's so hard to see the future when you're often in the wilderness, when everything seems so hopeless. It's hard to accept deep in your heart that God could possibly be up to something good, that God could possibly have a plan to work in you and through you for His glory. In fact, that's exactly the problem Moses had when God said to him, "Go back to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go." It's amazing how quickly Moses was able to rattle off excuses. That's what happens when we feel sorry for ourselves. We get into this mindset that we can't possibly do anything. But friend, your best is yet to come. And you know something? God is bigger than your wilderness. God is bigger than your failings. God is bigger than the obstacles that you can see. And God has invested so much in you, and He made you who you are. He made you to be what you're going to be. He's given you passions and dreams, and maybe today's the day for you to pick those up again. Maybe today's the day to listen to God's voice and hear Him whisper in your heart, "I'm here with you. Let me help you get over it," because your best is yet to come. Now we're going to go over the life application questions. The first thing on here says, are you feeling sorry for yourself at the moment? Is the grief justified, or has it been going on too long? For me, like when I think about this, when I think about grief and I think about, like, am I grieving? Personally right now, like I don't have anything that's been like catastrophic going on in my life recently. So I don't have that, but I can think back 10 years ago, 15 years ago to some things that have happened in my life where maybe I was still grieving them, like subconsciously, not really thinking about the fact that I'm grieving it, but I really haven't let it all the way go. And I've just recently started to like let it go and move on and move past. And I think that's just for me, like how I would answer that is, for me, like there's definitely been stuff in my past that I held on to for way too long and should have let go earlier. Second question here is, reflect on how God displays His power to Moses and others in the Bible. If He's so powerful, what can stand in the way of Him using you? Just thinking about Moses, right? That's who we've been talking about mainly in this devotion is Moses, and like just thinking about God's power, like how powerful God really is, because He gave Moses the power to part the Red Sea. Now the Red Sea wasn't just like a little lake or like a little river. This thing is huge. Like I've gone on Google Maps and like mapped out from one end of it to the other. It's like 100 miles. Or close to. It's very big. It's a very big sea. So the fact that God parted that and Moses took everybody across that to escape the Egyptians, that is sorry, I got a fuzz. That is really impressive. That's like power right there. Like that's a lot of power from God. That's a lot of water to move and hold it up for a long time. You think 100 miles, I'm assuming that would have taken them a few days to cross the Red Sea. That's one thing. The other thing I'd like to think about is like in the book of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, King Nebuchadnezzar throws them into the fiery furnace, and they are unharmed. And the cool thing about that story, I think, is that Nebuchadnezzar actually sees a fourth person in the fire, and he's like, "Hey, didn't we only throw 3 people in there?" And everybody's like, "Yeah, we threw 3." And he's like, "Well, there's a fourth person in there. I see them. They're all walking around, and the fourth one looks like the Son of God." You know, that's God was in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, protecting them. When they took them out of the fire, there was no smell of smoke. It says there was no smell of smoke. There was no burn marks. Nothing. Like they were perfectly fine. That's the God we serve, and that's the God who wants the best for us and in our life. Those are 2 powerful like Bible stories that God has shown up, and there's a million more in the Bible, but those are 2 that I think of. Now it says, reread the story of Moses in Exodus. How does God deal with his doubts and limitations? I'm not going to read Exodus right now, but you go ahead and go read the book of Exodus. It goes through, it'll go through Moses' whole life from the time he was a baby until he takes the Hebrews out of Egypt. But I can remember there's one thing I will say about one of the limitations that Moses tried to use towards God was that he couldn't speak. He's like, man, I don't speak very well. And you want me to go speak to Pharaoh, but I don't speak very well. And but God was like, you think that's gonna like limit me? Like, you think I can't figure that out? That's not in there. That's me paraphrasing. But so God is like, well, we'll use Aaron, your brother. We'll give your brother will talk for you. Like, so Moses is trying to get out of it. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. I can't talk. I don't speak well. And God's like, well, your brother will do it for you. So I mean, that's a limitation that I know that Moses tried to use and try to get out of the situation, but he said, nah, I got another plan for you. Last thing here says, spend some time praying. Ask God to reveal the path he wishes you to take from here. All right, guys, so I'm just going to pray us out. God, I just thank you. I thank you for this day, Lord. I thank you for every single person watching, Lord. I just pray that you would reveal the plans you have for each and every person who is doubting, or every person that doesn't think that you could use them because they've done too much, or they think they've gone too far, Lord. I just ask you would speak to them, and that you would reveal yourself to them, and that you would move them towards the path that they are destined to, that you have planned for them. I thank you for this day, God, and everything you've blessed me with, and everything you've done in my life. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, guys, have a blessed day.